This is a Hot Pie Media original.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the DNP-CD Sports podcast presented by Oddshark. I'm Chad Fisher, alongside my co-host Tony Farmer. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Chad. I've gone down a couple rabbit holes this week.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Yeah, one, of course.
9/11.
You know what I mean?
That was the first one.
No,
right?
not that one. That was years ago, brother.
Yeah.
That was years ago.
I already did that. Yeah.
No, man. I mean, of course, we got the NFL season, so you know I'm always studying that.
Yeah.
But our last show, we talked about that high school dude, Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah.
And I said on the show, like, I want to look more into this because the whole thing blew my mind. The fact that ESPN was fooled, the fact that these grown-ass men were playing against, like, basically high school age
still got
children,
their ass beat, yeah.
Still lost the game. I'm like, I gotta look more into this.
Yeah.
So this, at first, when I first heard the story, and admittedly, I just read the headlines and shit, I didn't go too deep at first. And I was like, oh, these guys are doing it for the publicity. These are guys who like didn't get their chance to shine in high school. Now they just want to be on ESPN. Dog, this was a whole money-making scheme.
Oh, shit.
So what I read is that this coach, he was getting money from the opposing high schools to play them. So much like colleges will reach out to like MAC schools and be like, yo, if you go on our schedule, we'll pay you this much.
Yeah.
So he was pocketing that, right? Then he was getting travel money for hotels and travel expenses, but he wasn't paying the hotel bills.
Yeah, I heard that. That's some baller ass shit.
So
he's like ordering room service, like, hey man, we didn't get our Cheerios this morning like we asked, and then still not paying the bill like an asshole. That's hilarious, man.
Dude, what blows my mind about like people that do these scams like this, you know this is gonna catch up to you.
Yeah, and he had warrants, and so you're gonna be on national TV when you have warrants. Like, what a dumbass.
Silly.
Dude's a jackass, man.
Unbelievable. I feel like we could do an entire podcast on just this situation, just digging into it and investigating it. I ain't got that kind of time, but I feel like it's deep enough. Every time I see the onion layers get peeled back, it's like, wow, this is incredible.
It's so funny too about how ESPN is like blaming them exclusively and not like really accepting any blame. It was kind of just like a little footnote at the end, like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, we're going to look into this a little bit more. It's like, dude, no. You should have beforehand. It's a nationally televised game. You've never heard of this team. Like most high schools that are perennial high schools, that are big time high schools that produce big time athletes and are always in the top 5 or 10 in the country. You know who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's heard of IMG, you know, and basketball. Everyone's heard of Oak Hill and Virginia. You know, Carmelo Anthony and a lot of other stars went there. It's hilarious that this has got through somehow.
And then the fact that these were grown ass men, and I know you got pads on.
Yeah.
And so it's maybe tough to tell, you know, how big someone is, but you got a whole team of grown men and you don't know that they're not high schoolers. Yeah. Like even after you get there. And I was also reading this thing where there was a whistleblower who contacted ESPN and was like, y'all, this is a scam. And it said he could not get through to ESPN. He tried to, but ESPN like wouldn't return his calls or emails or whatever. And so they just kind of like brushed him off.
Yeah, they haven't returned mine either. Assholes. Yeah, they probably just think it's, you know, some, you know, pissed off ex-business partner or something like that and aren't even thinking like this is for real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was hilarious that they started having questions around 30-0 when it was like 30 it was like 14-0 and like, all right, good start, you know, by IMG. IMG's got a good start here. Wow, they're really putting the foot down, you know. It starts to get 30-0 like, hold on a second, we don't know if these guys are that good. You know, like you said, man, ESPN deserves a lot of blame for this. And I suspect there's 1 or 2 people at ESPN. I don't know their names. I don't know their titles, but there's 1 or 2 people at ESPN who dropped the ball on this. And I wonder if they were sweating as like the score was getting run up. Yeah, they're like,
they had this like thought in the back of their mind that just kept growing and growing. And they're like, what if, oh my God, I might have been scammed.
Yeah. They was hoping someone was going to pull a Woody Hayes and just like punch one of their players. Take him out. Was that Woody Hayes, right? Was that Earl Bruce?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's hard to keep which Ohio State football coach were retired in scandal. You know, there's so many of them. You got those two, Earl Bruce, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer kind of as well. Urban Meyer, definitely. So it was one of the 4, you know, scandalous Ohio State football coaches.
Well, yeah.
They're like, someone punched this dude, you know?
For those of you who are watching the show for the first time, Chad is a Michigan guy and will shit on Ohio State
at
any chance he gets.
Any opportunity. I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't care.
I was thinking of you, Chad, because I saw there was a former Ohio State player that was somehow involved in this Bishop Sycamore thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he wasn't a player like on the Bishop Sycamore team, but he was like somehow involved in the coordination of it and the actual scam itself. So you don't look surprised.
Absolutely, dude. That doesn't surprise me one bit. You know what I mean? It's also not going to surprise me when Urban Meyer has heart problems again when they start 0-4 this year. I got heart problems. I can't coach anymore. Unless I don't know.
Like you look at the Jags schedule, man. They got a pretty soft schedule the first 3 games, so it might be a little later in the season where he has heart problems.
Yeah, it's gonna happen when they're like 2-14. He's gonna be like, I got heart problems. I mean, unless like the Cardinals or the Giants or the Browns want to hire me, but other than that, my heart is just killing me.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That's hilarious, man. That's so funny. ESPN's got to do a better job.
No doubt. No, it kind of makes you wonder, like outside of sports too, how often do journalists get duped and get tricked on what is supposed to be their beat that they're supposed to know and understand. Who knows how often shit like this happens.
We tricked Hot Pie into giving us a show, so we know exactly what the hell's going on. They have no idea. We didn't really have John Stockton on. It was really his brother, Jimmy Stockton, and they just couldn't tell the difference because they're not huge sports fans.
Exactly. Yeah.
We just plastered
Jimmy's a great guy, by the way.
Jimmy is good, man.
Yeah.
Could have been as good as his brother, just a couple inches shorter,
Al Eckler, too. He was great.
Al
Eckler, Austin Eckler's brother.
Yeah, he plays flag football intramurals at like Cal State Fullerton or some shit,
Oh shit.
It's hilarious. But let's tell everybody about OddsShark before we get into the betting segment. OddsShark is your source for the latest odds from leading authorities, expert editorial content, the hottest sports news, and detailed matchup picks. Are you looking for statistics and trends for an upcoming game? OddsShark has that too, and it's free. In-depth expert analysis, odds, and trends to help you make the sharp game day picks. They've got decades of stats in their databases, and their insiders give you takes so hot like sizzle. They're your one-stop shop for all your odds info on sports and pop culture events. Am I doing this whole ad?
Yeah, it's all you, bro.
Okay,
take us home, brother. Take us home.
I was getting tired for a second, man. Yeah. So if you want to get a better understanding of the odds and the math behind the numbers, how the line is set, why the lines move during the week on the NFL odds list, OddsShark will give you all the tools you need. They're a proven industry powerhouse. OddsShark has info from around the globe, giving you the chance to access the best sports odds on the planet. So whether you want to check out tonight's football odds, this week's hockey or basketball trends, or anything in between, head on over to OddsShark. Start thinking like a shark today. And great resource, ODDSSHARK.com. We go there all the time. In fact, that's where we're going to pull the numbers from for our betting segment here.
Yeah, man. And I just want to say we liked OddsShark before they started sponsoring the show. And this is the time of year to be utilizing OddsShark as a resource. They got awesome articles on their website. But like Chad said, they've got great numbers as well. And then they kind of give you an opportunity to shop around for online sports books. And for instance, I'm looking right now at the Ravens Raiders game tonight, and I can see what each of these sports books has the numbers posted at. So we're looking at a 4.5 point spread. What are your thoughts on that, Chad, in Las Vegas? We talked about it a little bit last show, but we've also had some more time to think about it now. Ravens in Vegas. Latest developments since the last time we talked about it is the Ravens have lost another running back. They lost Justice Hill, excuse me. So they're now down 2 running backs in this game. What are your thoughts, man?
Anytime you're working out Le'Veon Bell, that's not a good look. Anytime you're trying to get him on your football team or thinking about putting him on your football team, I think you're in a bad shape.
Unless it's like 2016.
Yeah, unless this was 5 years ago or something like that. And I don't know, man. That's going to be a tough position to fill. Hopefully for them. I mean, I'm a Browns fan. I'm hoping that that's a problem all year long. But if they don't fill that void, that's going to be because they're a running team. Lamar Jackson has had some struggles throwing the ball a little bit. Hasn't been amazing throwing the ball. And so they rely heavily on that running back position. J.K. Dobbins, their best running back, second-year guy of Ohio State, went down. Now Justice Hill. It's going to be interesting to see, man. It's going to be crazy because the season's just right around the corner. They don't have preseason games to try some of these guys out. A lot of stuff's going to be happening in private workouts. And so it's going to be it's going to be hard for them to do that. But, for me, I'm a Browns fan. I'm a little happy. I'm going to be honest with you. Injuries are part of the game, man,
Yeah, for sure, man. Kind of what I like about this game. I think this could be a very high-scoring game. The Ravens have a solid defense, but John Gruden, I do respect his offensive mind. I don't know that he's a great talent evaluator. But I think the Raiders can get a lot of points tonight on the Ravens. I see it being a pretty close game. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see like a 33-30 or something like that final outcome. We'll see how it goes, but I just can't wait to watch this game on TV, man, because they've played in this stadium before, but it was without fans.
Yeah.
And these fans have been waiting for their Raiders. A lot of people don't realize Las Vegas was kind of a Raiders town before the Raiders got there. A lot of people rooted for the Raiders anyways. Now they finally got this team that they've been waiting for a while. I think it's going to be absolutely electric, and it's going to be a blast to watch that stadium rocking.
Yeah, and you know what I said the last couple of weeks about the meth town? You know what I mean? So that home field in a meth town is worth way more than it is in like like Philadelphia or something like that. You're in Vegas that usually it's like a 3-point. You get 3 points if you're the home team. You're a meth town, that's like 5.5 in my book.
Right,
so
man.
it says what's the spread?
4.5.
4.5. Yeah. Yeah, that's down to like 1 in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Close game from Chad too, but he has very different rationale.
Yeah. I'm with you. They're opening up that stadium to the fans for the first time. They're going to be juiced up. They're going to be methed up. They're going to be finding all the nooks and crannies, little places where they can go sneak around and get a couple hits of meth for second half starts. It's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be a good game, but it will be interesting to see how Baltimore responds without how that running back position is filled. What they're going to end up doing. Are they going to put more pressure on Lamar Jackson to run the ball now? Is he going to be able to stay healthy all year? Is he going to take a little bit more hits? Is he going to be, put in harm's way a little bit more because he's got to carry the load more so than he did in the past? And so we'll see, man. But it's going to be a good game, I think. And, everyone's going to be juiced up. And I think it's going to be closer than what the spread indicates anyways.
Yeah. Are you like me? You wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Raiders win this game?
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. Like you said, we've seen this story before. Teams opening up their football stadium for the first time, their stadium for the first time. A little bit extra juice in the stadium, So, they're going to be excited for that. And I would not be surprised one bit if the Raiders pull that out. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Let's look ahead real quick, Chad, before we get to our interview. We got an awesome interview lined up today. Before we get there, though, next game on the schedule is Giants at Washington. I love that Washington defensive line, and I'm not high on the Giants at all. What are your thoughts going into that game? Giants
that's
at Washington.
The Thursday night game?
Yeah, NFC East. I don't know if I want to call it a battle.
Got anything better? God damn. Are they contractually obligated to put the Giants on a couple times a year? Because that's a shit matchup, man.
I'm glad we get that shit matchup out of the way early this season.
Good Lord.
It's the toilet bowl game.
Yeah, that's the one game I'll probably miss. I'll probably just check SportsCenter afterwards. But, that's going to be a terrible game. I don't even want to watch that shit.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Shit, yeah. I mean, who's going to be the quarterback for the football team this year? We got Fitzmagic. He's going to be in there.
Yep.
He feels like a Band-Aid, you know what I mean? Although he's put up some decent numbers, I don't know that he's the long-term answer. I don't know if they're going to find a long-term answer there. When, obviously it's not going to happen until next draft. So, I don't know. It's put up or shut up time for Daniel Jones. He's got this is his third year now, I believe. And so he's got to show if he's worthy of an extension or even being a starting quarterback in this league, or is he just destined to be a backup the rest of his career? We'll see, man.
For sure. I'm going to go with Washington by a touchdown. I think that sounds about right.
That's at Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, what's the spread on that? We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, it's all good. It's about, let's not.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would take Washington at home there. You know what I mean? I feel like the home team in that division is going to be in a better situation to win because I don't know. That's like a pick'em game to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be fun, man. Shitty games starting off week 2, but there are a lot of good week 2 games coming up on Sunday. So look forward to those, folks.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about those next week as well, what happened and everything. So we're going to get into our guest?
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, let's bring our guest in. All right, our guest today writes a daily email breaking down the business and money side of sports. He's extremely popular on Twitter with nearly 300,000 followers, and you should give him a follow because his Twitter is full of awesome information. He has so many interesting articles. You can get lost on his site for several hours, and I have. Please welcome to the DNP-CD Sports podcast, Joe Pompliano. How you doing, brother? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. So I want to ask you something real quick. There's so many articles that I've been reading about that you've written recently. One of which you talked about this on Twitter recently. Jimbo Fisher, head coach of Texas A&M, he recently signed an extension that's paying him $9 million annually, while Nick Saban is only making about $500,000 more than Jimbo. Jimbo's a good coach. He's won a national championship. But do you think that did Jimbo go to his negotiations with a pistol and Clint Eastwood? Like, how did he get that much money is what I want to know.
That's a good question. Yeah. I don't doubt it. I was joking that, like, if he's getting paid 9, Nick Saban deserves 20.
Yeah, at least.
Right? Like, they're just not even comparable from the standpoint of kind of execution and championships and stuff. But there's so much more that goes into it. I wrote an interesting article a few weeks back about the impact that Nick Saban had, and people who don't watch sports a lot, they say, "Hey, $10 million is a shit ton of money, right?" Like, that's more than most people make ever, right? And I think when you look at Alabama specifically, Nick Saban could be paid $100 million, and it wouldn't be enough from their enrollment, from kind of all the money that they've gotten through TV and concessions and all the tickets and everything. So when I saw the Jimbo Fisher number, I wasn't necessarily surprised, because Texas A&M obviously is a big school. They have some big boosters, and he's benefited them greatly. But they shouldn't even be close to salary perspective in my mind.
He must. They must know where the bodies are buried or something like that, man. That's what it is. That's got to be it.
Yeah, that's what most of the people were saying on Twitter. That he knows must have something on them.
He knows somebody's mistress. I know that. To get paid that much. God damn.
Yeah.
Joe, we're interested in how you got into this. I mean, you could accurately be called a sports writer, but you're not, covering games day to day. You're really covering super interesting stories in the financial aspect of sports. You seem to be super passionate about finances and things of that nature. How did you get into this, and how did this kind of grow?
Yeah, so when I graduated college, I had spent a short amount of time at Octagon Sports Agency in Washington, D.C. I thought growing up, I grew up with 4 brothers. I played sports my entire life, and I thought I wanted to be a sports agent. And I quickly came to realize that industry is extremely tough to break into if you don't know someone or kind of have some strategic advantage. So I spent some time at Octagon, and then I transitioned out, and my other passion was finance. So I went and worked at JP Morgan in New York City for the last few years. On the fixed income desk, trading bonds. And I loved it, thought it was fun, enjoyed it, but it just wasn't what I really wanted to do long term. I wanted to kind of mix the two with sports again. So I started writing the newsletter about a year ago and just started tweeting. And you're right, like I'm not covering games. I'm not kind of chasing down sources. I'm not doing all the things that a traditional writer might do. Really what I'm doing is I'm just tweeting out and writing about things that I think are interesting, right? And some of that crosses kind of doing some source work where I talk to different people or whatever it is, or leveraging other people's work and crediting them and stuff. But at the end of the day, I really just come down, when I pick something to write about or something to tweet, it just comes down to if I think it's interesting or not, right? And if someone in my position would enjoy it. So whether it's on Twitter or the newsletter, it's really a combination of everything from sports, finance, culture. It could be anything. As long as I find it interesting.
You mentioned when you got out of college. I was at High Point University probably about 10 years ago, probably a couple years before you got on that campus. How the hell did you get any work done on that campus? That place looks like it was designed by Ferris Bueller. I mean, that campus. Again, this is about 10 years ago, but I remember like in-ground pools with the High Point like logo in the bottom of the pools. And this place was unbelievable. Talk to me about your time at High Point, man.
High Point was fun, man. It was a good time. I grew up in North Carolina, so it wasn't that far from home. When I joke all the time, when you go to school, at least for me, it was the perfect distance. It was about an hour and a half. So it's kind of just far enough where you're not getting the daily visits and stuff like that from the parents, but you're close enough to where you can go home if you want to. So I enjoyed it. It's a beautiful school. It was a lot of fun. My dad was pretty pissed that was my decision. He's from New Jersey and he commuted from home to go to Rutgers. So it was quite the different experience from what I had there. But it was fun. It's funny to look back. I haven't been back to the school, but I see the pictures and stuff. And I'm sure it's even drastically better than when you last saw it, because I know it is from when I last saw it.
You're like, man, this is like the damn Vatican or something like that. What's going on?
That campus was opulent.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There was pools. They got everything. They had like this whole Greek village with houses and stuff that students could live in. It's a beautiful campus. It certainly they were kind of marketing to a specific demographic, but from North Carolina. It was funny because most of the students are actually from the Northeast, from Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and stuff. So I was slightly an outsider from that perspective.
It's crazy. Joe, the landscape of college football and the money on college football is changing drastically, and it has over the last few months. You tweeted about this recently. For the first time in history, we've got college athletes making $500,000+ a year. Some of them, which we'll get into here shortly, the Ohio State quarterback, making even more than that. I think it's awesome that these kids are getting paid, and it probably should be more. What's your take on it, and why is it so great for these student athletes finally to be getting paid?
Yeah, I think it's just a culmination of what's been building up for a bunch of years, right? It's just kids being able to capitalize off their name, image, and likeness. And I think back to a few people, but one of the guys that I've become more friendly with is Brandon Wimbush, who was a quarterback at Notre Dame. And he brought up a good example, and I like to relay it for these purposes, which was he was playing in a bowl game. I forget what bowl game it was essentially, but he was a starting quarterback. And he said, "Hey, look, my name was on the tickets. My name was all around the posters around the stadium. They used it for commercials for the game. It was broadcasted kind of everywhere. I didn't make $1 off the game. I didn't go pro. I didn't have any kind of fiscal reward from those opportunities or those games. And they made all the money off of it, right?" Mm-hmm. So someone like that, who's a good example because they're a college player that plays at a major program that could have earned money for their name, image, and likeness. And those are quite possibly some of these guys' highest earning years, the highest potential that they have to earn an income, right? When you're kind of the star player, but you're not going to go pro, you're not going to have all these major marketing opportunities. So I think for these guys, it's just been a long time coming for their ability to capitalize off this stuff. And I think on the other broad side of this, like everyone likes to talk about the big names, right? We'll get into Quinn Ewers at Ohio State and Bryce Young at Alabama and all these guys. But the data shows that the average deal is actually for less than $1,000, mm-hmm. right? And we've seen that most of these deals are actually being done by kind of the non-football players, the non-basketball players. It's student athletes that are giving lessons. They're doing small commercials for local brands, small social media posts, this kind of stuff, right? And it's just income that they can use while they're at school. Because everyone knows, yeah, you're on scholarship, but it's tough. You gotta have cash. You gotta be able to go eat food. You gotta be able to do these certain things. And this is good because it's another outlet for them to earn money legally now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's great.
Like Chad said, an example of this is Ohio State quarterback, I believe 4th string quarterback, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Is it Quinn Ewers? Is that how I say his last name?
Yeah.
I've been saying Ewers, but I have no idea. You guys.
All right. I'm gonna go with Quinn. So Quinn was in high school a few weeks ago. Now he's on the OSU campus and he's making a lot of money, $1.5 million. Can you just, for people that don't know his story at all, can you talk a little bit about this story and what makes his situation so unique?
Yeah. In short, Quinn is balling out for an 18-year-old. The kid is killing it, right? He went to high school in Texas. I think he was at South Lake Carroll, one of the top prep programs, top high school programs in the country. He was the number 1 recruit in the 2022 class. So he was the number 1 recruit coming out next year. So he finished his junior year. These laws got implemented all across the country this year. And Texas, I believe, was one of 3 states or maybe 5 or somewhere in that low range number that said high school athletes cannot profit off this in the same way that college athletes can. So they said you cannot legally play high school football here if you earn money as an amateur. So Quinn said, okay, instead of transferring, we saw some students, they transferred to high schools in other states or they moved or whatever it was. Quinn said, I already have a scholarship to Ohio State. I'm going to go to Ohio State a year early. I only need 1 more credit to graduate high school. I don't know if he took it online or whatever the deal was, but he ended up taking his last credit, essentially got the equivalent of his GED, and then went to Ohio State 1 year early. So he reclassified in 2021, got to Ohio State. Like you said, he's the 4th string quarterback, but he's the number 1 recruit for next year. So he is quickly going to move up that depth chart. But what it allowed him to do was he was able to start signing NIL deals immediately. So he signed, the first one was with a local beverage company in Texas. We don't know how much it was for, but he got a bunch of free product. He did a commercial shoot for them. So I'm assuming he got paid pretty well for that. The second one was with a car dealership in Columbus, Ohio. When he got there, keep in mind, he's been on campus for 2 weeks.
Yes,
he's been there for literally 14 days at this point. And he's a 4th-string quarterback, hasn't taken a class, anything, right? At this point, he had done like 3 practices. So he signed a deal with a dealership, a car dealership in Ohio State. At Ohio State, he got a free truck. I think it was like a $75,000 custom Ford truck. And then the next deal he did was with a memorabilia company where he's getting paid like I think it was $1.4 million over the next 3 years. So he's got over like $1.5 million in total value of deals over 3 years. And this was a kid that was making $0 off of his ability last year.
And that truck deal, I read you were saying they're going to pay $1 for every mile on the odometer of that truck, and then that's going to be donated to a charity as well. And so they're just throwing money at at these kids, which I like it a lot. And here's the reason I like it. Sometimes we've seen these athletes get injured, and then they never get to cash in on their NFL career. Look at a guy like Marcus Lattimore, okay? That dude was supposed to be an early first-round pick, multimillionaire for the rest of his life. He ends up sliding in the draft because of an injury late in his career, and he ends up making pennies of what he should have been making. You take a guy like Marcus Lattimore in today's climate, that guy would have made millions before he even got to the NFL, and he would have been set for life. So I think it protects these college kids in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Because remember, we were seeing a lot of athletes have to take out insurance policies in case of injuries. Now they can actually make money as they should be able to.
Yeah. All right, Tony, let's take a quick second to tell everybody about BetterHelp. We're proud to announce that the DNP-CD Sports podcast is now sponsored by BetterHelp. That's Better, H-E-L-P. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? Like I've said before, man, I think that so many people should be going to therapy. A lot of people kind of neglect that part of their lives. You know, they work out, they're running, they're eating right. You don't understand that mental health is so important as well. And I think that now that it's becoming less taboo to talk about, people are starting to seek out these services. And BetterHelp, we're super happy to be partnering with them. BetterHelp they'll assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours, just 2 days to stand in the way between you and a better version of yourself. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online. Yeah, and there's a broad ranges of expertises that are available, which may not be available locally to you. And so, you know, there might be a therapist that specializes in divorce. There might be a therapist that specializes in working with veterans. So it's not sort of a one-size-fits-all approach. So you can look forward to that. The service is available worldwide, so it doesn't matter where you are. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You'll get a timely, thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, and you won't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. Yeah, BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp, that's H-E-L-P, wants you to start living a happier life today. All right. And you can visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted on there daily. I know that for me, whenever I try a new service or I buy a new product, I want to hear from the people that have actually utilized that service. So I've got a couple pulled up here that I want to read from you. These are actual users of BetterHelp. One person says, for the short time we've known each other, Tamara, who's her therapist, Tamara has been a positive influence in my life. She is so kind, non-judgmental, and I feel so at ease with her. I highly recommend her. 2 exclamation points. Another person says, that's when you know it's serious. Dude, that's no joke right there. One, it's just like, yeah, you know, she was all right. You can tell with the punctuation. I'm going to invite this girl to a barbecue is what she's saying, basically. It's big time. Next person says, Roselle is very kind and professional. She really listens to what I have to say and what my concerns are and reacts with quality advice. She responds to messages quickly and is always willing to make scheduling work. So there's people bragging about how wonderful of listeners they are, how flexible they are. The folks over at BetterHelp are incredible. And you can visit betterhelp.com/DNP. That's better, H-E-L-P. .com/DNP and join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. Yeah, as I've said before, man, I see a therapist every Thursday, man. It's one of the best things I've ever done. What's great about this is in 48 hours, you can be talking to a therapist. So you're only 2 days away from working on your mental health, from getting better, from experiencing a new you, a new life. And it's so important, man, because everybody struggles with things. It's no longer taboo to talk about this stuff, as we know. Everyone's going through struggles, you know, whether you lost someone, you have a friend or family member die, you're going through a divorce, like we said, even if you lost your dog or your cat or something like that, that stuff's hard, man. It's hard being a human being. And so it's not taboo to talk about. And the only thing that's wrong is if you don't get help. You know what I mean? It's so very important. You got to check this out.
Especially these days, a lot of people are feeling extra isolated because of, where the economy's at, because of social distancing, and they're not able to interact with as many people as they'd like. So it's an especially important time to be taking care of our mental health preventatively.
Yeah, BetterHelp is getting super popular too. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. What's awesome is that we have a special offer for our listeners. You can get 10% off your first month if you go to BetterHelp. That's HELP.com/DNP, as in did not play. You're going to get 10% off your first month of therapy, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. We like saving people money on this show.
Yeah.
Usually in the gambling sense.
Yeah.
Usually in the shopping around of the number sense. But in this sense, we like saving you money as well. And you get great mental health help as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's super important, man. And what's great is that you'll be doing this in less than 2 days, man. You do it weekly, however often you feel is necessary. They'll be able to accommodate your schedule. And it's great, man. You don't have to leave your house. That's what's awesome.
You can be in your pajamas in bed having this conversation with your therapist. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you just got like a little snack plate waiting on you. As soon as you get done, you get to eat and turn the Monday Night Football game on. Do whatever you got to do, man. But you don't have to leave the house. No traffic, sitting in traffic, worried about getting a car accident, any of that stuff. As we said before, waiting in the stuffy waiting rooms, with all these people coming out half crying, wondering what's wrong with them and stuff like that. Got people judging you. You get to do this at your house. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So make sure you go to BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/DNP. And you're going to get 10% off your first month of therapy.
Yeah, and there's two things I would point out on that. And one is they can't be performance based, right? So if a kid ends up, we saw week one, right? There was a couple guys that signed all these big deals and didn't perform, didn't play well, threw interceptions, whatever it was. And these deals can't get reneged on. They can't reduce the value of them. They can't be incentive based. So they're getting paid regardless. And vice versa. If a player performs well, maybe they'll get more deals or whatever. But I think, we're just seeing kind of the floodgates open. And I think when you think of players historically, Johnny Manziel, how much would have that guy have made when he was in college, right? Reggie Bush, right? Like these guys would have made an absolute killing. And we're hearing kind of $1 million is like the top range right now for the best guys, 1.5, whatever it is. I think we're going to break through that. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these guys making $2, $3, $4 million by the end of the year.
And for people who haven't read Joe's work, here's an excerpt from this article. Ewers has signed three deals worth about $1.5 million so far, which would instantly make him the highest paid faculty member at Ohio State outside of athletics. I looked up the OSU's president's salary. She makes $900,000 a year. So this dude at 18 years old, 2 weeks in, is making more than the president of the university.
Yeah, that's Ohio State, man. Joe mentioned, I'm a Michigan fan, so I'm going to throw some shade at him real quick. But Joe mentioned that Quinn hasn't even attended a class at Ohio State and he's making $1.5 million. I'll argue that there's seniors at Ohio State that have not attended a class yet that are probably making about the same amount of money. Anyways, I don't know how much.
Are you saying they were making that before the NIL?
Yeah. I was gonna say Ohio State's gonna be the only school that's taking a pay cut with the NIL deal. They want to go back to trading tattoos in cars and stuff like that. For autographs.
I made that joke about Reggie Bush. I made that comment about Reggie Bush to someone the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, that might have been a pay cut for Reggie."
Yeah. He'd be like, "No, let's go under the table."
And when I sent out that tweet that you guys read earlier about guys making $500 million now for the first time ever playing in games this week, I had to make sure I basically worded it in a way where no one would come after me saying that they were now legally doing it. Some guys were certainly making money beforehand.
Definitely.
Now they're not. Now they're not have to worry about getting in trouble.
They definitely were. You talked about it there. You alluded to it, but as you mentioned, it's still super early in the process, and we don't really know the true value of a top-tiered athlete's worth to companies and everything. For example, like this year, as of right now anyway, there's not a clear-cut number one pick in next year's draft. As with last year, Trevor Lawrence was that clear-cut number one pick. So what do you how do you envision it changing when we do have a clear-cut number one guy, and what type of money could he make in the future?
Yeah, I think it depends, right? I think what we're seeing now is we're going to see like a shakeout, right? And we're going to see a floor set and we're going to see a ceiling set of like what these guys are willing to be paid. And I think a lot of it will depend on obviously their performance and everything like that. If a guy clear-cut Heisman favorite, he's going to sign more deals, he's going to do all these different things. Having social media presence obviously helps depending on kind of how much you have on certain platforms because a lot of these deals are social media based. But I think at the end of the day, like it's just going to take time to figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised if you have like Johnny Manziel. I use him as an example because he was like a celebrity in college, right? He was Bryce Young may win the Heisman this year, and I think he's probably the favorite at this point. But he's not even close to that status, even at a big program like Alabama, that Johnny Manziel was, right? Every high school kid, every college student, every fan of football knew Johnny Manziel, and he could sell stuff, right, to that fan base. So I think when you have a personality like that, that's combined with the talent that can win Heisman's, be a top draft pick, all that kind of stuff, that's where we're going to see the money start to get really crazy. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if people are drastically underestimating the amount that these guys can earn, I've heard the numbers. Most people are thinking $1 million, maybe $2 million is the high. I wouldn't be surprised to see people break that. I think, especially in the climate we're in now, a lot of these brands have a lot of money. We're seeing finance brands come in. Cash App did a deal with Bryce Young. These crypto brands are going to come in. They're going to throw money at these players. So I think we're going to see that these kids, some of these guys are going to make more money than you would have expected. And the one I'm really looking forward to is when someone breaks. I think Mark Emmert makes like $2 or $2.5 million a year as the NCAA president, and I think he is going to be quite upset when someone comes in and makes a little more than 10.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. The jig is up, Mark. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I find so many interesting facts and tweets on your page. I love checking it out. You recently had a super popular tweet that garnered almost 30,000 likes involving Tyreek Hill. In fact, he retweeted it as well, the Pro Bowl wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. Can you tell all of our listeners what that was about and how Tyreek was kind of able to skirt the system?
Yeah, so Tyreek Hill, if anyone has seen him play, he has the celebration where, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago at this point, but he basically gives the peace sign to people when he scores touchdowns, right? So he's 5-10 yards ahead of you. He's just trolling you, really. He's just saying, hey, see y'all later. I'm in the end zone, right? And he got fined for it. The NFL, no fun league. They're like, no, none of that. Cut that out. So he got fined. I think he's been fined twice, actually, but I recorded the last one, which was like $10,500 or somewhere around there, $10,000, $11,000. And what Tyreek Hill did, which was funny, and I don't know if it was like so much of a savvy business move, as in he was just kind of trolling again. But he went in, when he got fined the second time, he had to pay his $10,000 fine. And then he went in, he invested in a company called Grip Boost, and they make football gloves. So just like Nike or anyone else would, they make football gloves that are sticky and stuff. And they made him a special pair of gloves that when you hold it up, it has the peace sign, basically like tattooed almost, right? Yeah. Where the two fingers are highlighted and all the others aren't. So now instead of actually giving the peace sign, he just holds up his hand and the peace sign is in the glove. So people were laughing because he not only did he invest money in the company, but he got a custom glove out of it where he can troll even more now without getting fined. So we'll see if the NFL decides to take some action there. I was when I pressed send on the tweet, I was like, man, I really hope he doesn't get mad at me for giving up the jig here. But it was funny, and I think people got a kick out of it because it was kind of a unique and a smart way to get around the ruals.
Yeah,
great loophole.
That was hilarious.
Yeah,
man.
And his retweet was funny too. He said, "Based on a true story."
Yeah.
That was awesome. Hey, recently Urban Meyer was in the news for saying a player's vaccination status was under consideration when making final cuts. Jaguars organization, of course, walked that back because it's in violation of the players' union rules. You've been kind of neutral on the topic of vaccination in pro sports and said whatever works for each player and their families is okay. However, you said that it's laughable that the NFL coaches aren't taking the idea that they're not taking into consideration is laughable. We agree with you. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit and expound upon that? Yeah,
I just think people got mad at Urban Meyer, and he really just said the quiet part out loud, right? Which was like, hey, look, there are serious consequences. You guys spent the entire offseason, in my view, right? This is just my opinion. The NFL said, hey, look, we cannot force you legally to go get vaccinated, right? We would love if every single player in the league got vaccinated. It makes our lives a million times easier. We won't miss games. We won't miss revenue. We'll allow fans in the stands, all these things, right? It just benefits them as an organization financially a lot, right? So they spent the entire offseason trying to craft rules with the NFLPA that design players to force them to get vaccinated. And those things were, if you are non-vaccinated, you have to get daily tested for COVID. You cannot eat with a certain number of players in the team cafeteria. You cannot work out with a certain number of players in the weight room. You cannot leave the team hotel, right? And these are all rules that are the exact opposite for vaccinated players.
Right.
So basically they said, hey, look, your life is going to be much easier if you get vaccinated. But then at the end of the day, they're saying coaches can't take it into consideration if you don't get vaccinated, which is laughable because at the end of the day, coaches care about availability. They want to know that you're not going to miss time because of COVID protocols. You're going to be there. You're going to do all these things, right? And I think Urban Meyer, he's new to the NFL game. He said, hey, there's a players association. I can't do whatever I was doing in college, basically whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And he let it slip and he said, whatever. And they walked it back and all this thing. But Bill Belichick, people claimed he did the same thing with Cam Newton and all this other stuff, right? I just think it's laughable to me to expect to create incentives that want people to carry certain players and make roster decisions on these things that you guys implemented and then say that they're not doing it. Fans aren't stupid. They can't be fooled. They know that it depends, or that a player's availability matters at the end of the day to a coach and a GM. So they know that these things are going to be considered.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you said, it's laughable to think that they're not taking that into consideration. Absolutely. Obviously they are. And then they're going to open an investigation. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And to be fair, in my point, like they should take it into consideration, right? Like whether you believe in getting it or not, it doesn't really matter to me. But based on the circumstances, availability is an important factor. Yeah. So a coach and a GM has a responsibility to take that into consideration. But it's a joke that the NFL is now trying to get you to believe that they're not going to.
Exactly.
Come on, we're not idiots.
Exactly.
A really fascinating story for me, which I'm really happy about. Recently, the PGA Tour and Netflix announced that they'll be teaming up on a documentary series modeled after F1's Drive to Survive series, which is entering its 4th season. It's been wildly successful for them. It's been incredibly popular. It's more than doubled F1's viewership in the United States, maybe even more than that. Can you tell us about that, about this PGA Tour and Netflix teaming up? And my question to you is, why is it taking the PGA Tour so long to do something like this? It always feels like they're 10 years behind everybody else, and they're very tight-lipped, and they don't really offer that much access to their stars.
Yeah, so like for I don't know how many people haven't seen it at this point, but F1 Drive to Survive on Netflix was a very simple concept, and it was basically just uncovering kind of everything that goes into the sport. And for American fans, F1 isn't popular because it's mostly a sport that takes place internationally, not within the U.S. There's no U.S. drivers. It's not a huge sport domestically here. So what Netflix did was they teamed up with them. They showed the drivers' personalities. They showed kind of the fights brewing during the season. They showed kind of the battles, all that type of stuff. Super compelling content, worked really well for F1. The viewership, like you said, is doubled here in the US. Now golf is basically like, let's do the exact same model, which I believe is genius. I think it's really smart. But to your point, it's only going to work if the PGA Tour allows the content team to do the same thing they did with Netflix. So the PGA, in my opinion, has always kind of been tight-lipped to your point around like how they want players portrayed. They want people portrayed like they're perfect. And they want people, that's literally what they want. They want you to think that the players are perfect, that they don't do anything wrong, that no mistakes ever happen, that the rivalries don't exist, all this stuff, everyone gets along. And that's just not the reality. Not only is it not the reality, but that's not what the fans want. The fans want that inside access where they feel like they're getting some kind of special knowledge, or they see kind of the battles brewing between the players and kind of that inside special access. And I think that this has the opportunity to give that to them if it's done in the right way. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the approach that the PGA Tour lets Netflix and the content distributors that they're working with when it comes to recording the players and all this stuff. But I think at the end of the day, like if they're able to nail it, it's going to accelerate everything because content's the name of the game. And there are only so many things outside of live sports race that are compelling, right? Like I joke about it all the time. It seems like there's a new documentary coming out every day. So it's interesting to see kind of the approach that Netflix is taking with this premium kind of IP stuff where they're able to partner with the leagues and distribute content that way.
Yeah, and they've got so many young stars right now, too, that people would love to get to know better. Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, DJ, Dustin Johnson, so many guys. And it'll be also interesting to see who hates Bryson DeChambeau the most. You know, I'm interested to see. Everyone thinks it's Brooksy, but I think I got a sneaky suspicion somebody else hates him more than Brooks does, you know.
Well, they said the article that was on golf.com at the time that broke the news on it, they said that there was a bunch of about half of the top 20 players in the world agreed to do this already, and they have to get sign off from them. So not everyone's going to participate, but some of these guys will. And the jokes were, we need Brooks, we need DeChambeau, we need all these guys to opt in so we can see the real info.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, one of the things I love about your Twitter account, and that's at Joe Pompliano, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, is that you're blowing people's minds, man. The stuff that you're writing about and the stuff that you're tweeting about is stuff that if you weren't writing and tweeting about it and someone just told you in a bar, you'd be like, nah, that guy's bullshitting me. There's no way. But you're documenting these things. So like as an example, I saw the Olympic ping pong player with no arms who had the paddle in his mouth and was like serving with his feet and his mouth. It was unbelievable. And so you're blowing people's minds left and right. My question for you is, as long as you've been doing this, what are the ones that stick out for you where you've blown your own mind and you're just like, holy cow?
That's a tough one. That's certainly one, right? He's, for those of you who don't know, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Ibrahim Hamado, I believe. He was competing in the Special Olympics and he didn't have arms and he's playing ping pong. So obviously incredible when you're using the paddle in your mouth and throwing the ball up with your foot. Just wild stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stories like that. I'd probably have to think on it about like which ones are my favorites, but for me, it's just like there's just so many unbelievable things in sports that happen all the time that probably don't get the necessary publicity, because in my mind, like we've been trained now to think of things in a super negative light when it comes to professional athletes sometimes. And whether it's like there was documentaries put out, CNBC released all these numbers of all these athletes going broke and people really took on to that. But I think more than ever now, like social media has opened the door for these athletes to show who they are. Not only to everyone online, but what they are at home, right? Who they interact with, how they think about business, how they think about life, how they think about training, all this stuff. And I think that there's more stories now than ever, as every day these athletes post more and more and build their profiles online. And I think that there's more content than ever. It's just a matter of finding it and getting it out to other people. Yeah,
and you highlight a lot of these awesome stories, which is one of the reasons why I love going to your Twitter and everything. A great example of some of the stories that people can find on your website. I found this story incredibly fascinating. The story of Ozzy and Daniel Silna, which is pinned on your website right now. They have made over $800 million without ever owning an NBA team. Can you tell us a little bit about their story, Joe?
Yeah, so they invested in a team when it was in the ABA, the St. Louis Spirits. And basically their idea was that the NBA and the ABA were eventually going to merge, right? And they went out and they said, the NBA came calling. They said, hey, look, we want to buy out the other teams. And we want to merge. 4 of the 7 teams were accepted. A couple teams, one of them went bankrupt and one was basically told to kick rocks. And they were offered all these deals. The other teams all took cash payouts basically to say, hey, look, we'll come over. I think the payout at the time was like $3 million. The Silna brothers were like, nah, you guys need us to make this deal work. So we're out on the $3 million. We want some equity in the revenue stream. So they said, all right, we'll take your $3 million like everyone else, but we also want 1/7 of the TV revenue going forward that these teams represent. So whatever the math is on that, 4% of whatever in perpetuity. Yeah. And they got a percentage basically of, I think it came out to basically like 2% of the NBA's entire broadcasting revenue. Yeah. And this deal was signed in perpetuity. Amazing, amazing, amazing deal for them. At first, the checks were like $50,000, $100,000, $300,000. And then by the end, they were collecting millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think the buyout, if I remember correctly, eventually when Adam Silver went to go and negotiate the new deal for the NBA in maybe 2010 or 2014, I guess it was, he was basically like, look, I got to put an end to this. I don't care what it costs, right? Like we're about to sign a multi-billion-dollar deal a year. I'm not doing this forever. Yeah. So he went and he offered them a buyout. And I think they ended up taking like a $500 million buyout plus what they had been given previously. So they made $800 million in total. And they didn't ever own a team in the NBA. So they owned an ABA team. They sold it to the NBA basically. And they got a revenue stream from the NBA. And they made $800 million off of, I think what at the time was like $1 million or $2 million investment. So wild deal. And just like one of those stories that is like you guys mentioned, it's like you heard that in a bar. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. They're like, they're kind of like Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Sacramento Kings. Neither of them have actually owned a real NBA team ever.
That was a good one.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was off the top of the noggin too. I didn't even write that joke.
That one. I thought you were actually going something like that. And then I put 2 and 2 together with the Kings just being terrible. And I was like, yeah.
You spitting your drink out is going to be great for a highlight reel, by the way. Thanks for that.
Sure,
yeah, that was great.
That's awesome. Hey, man, you talk about cryptocurrency a lot on your Twitter. Russ Okung, former current NFL tackle who's a free agent right now. That's one of Chad and I's favorite follows. Always talking about cryptocurrency on Twitter. Cade Cunningham recently got paid 100% of his signing bonus in Bitcoin. believe Trevor Lawrence did as well. This is like showing no signs of slowing down. I think this sort of thing is here to stay. Where do you see the future of this going?
With professional athletes, yeah, I think it's only going to get bigger, right? Like you mentioned a few of the deals. Russell, I think he announced he was taking 50% of his $13 million salary, so $6.5 million a year in Bitcoin specifically, in December of last year. Bitcoin was at like $25,000 or $27,000. So he's up big on that, obviously. And then he was getting paid in it via kind of a protocol there. Saquon Barkley announced he's taking 100% of his $10 million in annual endorsement income in Bitcoin going forward. He announced that when it was at like $30,000 or $35,000. So he's up on that. Trevor Lawrence took 100% of his signing bonus with Blockfolio in crypto. Cade Cunningham, same thing with BlockFi, et cetera. I think Steph Curry even today, I don't know when the show is going to get released, but Steph Curry today, he announced that he signed a partnership with FTX, the crypto exchange, and he got equity in the deal. Tom Brady has equity in FTX. I think it's here to stay. Look, and the way I think about it is I wrote about this with Cade, which was these athletes are getting a lot of shit, to be quite frank, about like how they're doing this. And the typical kind of sly comment is professional athletes are terrible with their money. They don't know how to manage it. They don't know all this stuff, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's a couple things. Professional athletes, a lot of the ones that I've spoken to, Saquon Barkley, et cetera, they understand the role that inflation plays within their financial assets and their inability to kind of save their way towards long-term wealth, and they want to invest their money and do certain things. So they treat Bitcoin specifically and other assets as a savings account that is appreciating value over time. That's one way. The other way is a lot of these guys are thinking about it from a diversification standpoint, which sounds funny when you think about crypto. But Cade Cunningham, his deal, I believe it's a 7-figure deal. His signing bonus was 5 or 6 figures. He got paid it in Bitcoin. He's going to end up having a multi-million dollar investment portfolio. This is going to represent 1, maybe 2% of his portfolio, right? So at the end of the day, it is a hedge and a diversification against everything else he's invested in. So while people may laugh at him, he's actually probably doing the thing that most people would agree with, which is diversifying his assets and getting invested in the digital space. And then I think thirdly is a lot of these athletes are realizing how passionate the community is, right? And there's some guys who are doing NFTs and all these other things. But at the end of the day, the crypto community in general is extremely passionate, and it's a massive fan base within the digital world. And Saquon was a good example I like to use because we spoke with him about it, and he basically said, look, when I announced, I think he even just put the Bitcoin, the logo, the B in his bio. And I tweeted out and I said, look, I made a joke like Saquon 2,000 yards confirmed or something like that this year. And it ended up going viral because a bunch of people in Bitcoin picked it up and went with it. But I think he said he gained like 20,000 followers overnight when he did that.
That's crazy.
So when you just think about it on the sheer size and scale of the fan base that you can acquire by not even just like believing in it, but showing to other people that you believe in it, right? And having that courage and that conviction to say, hey, look, this is what I'm investing in. And for him to come out and say, I'm putting 100% of my $10 million in annual endorsements into it, I think that really solidified his presence within the space and said, hey, look, this guy is not only saying, hey, I believe in it from like a brand standpoint, but he's willing to invest in it, put significant amount of money towards it. And he's in this for the long haul. So I think when you think about it in the context of marketing, like it all comes down to how much these companies make. FTX they spent $500 million plus on sponsorships across different sports leagues. Crypto.com has done the exact same thing with a bunch of different sports leagues. Individual teams have signed deals. And I think what we're going to see is as these platforms continue to grow in popularity, they're going to take in more fees through transactions and they're going to pump more out through marketing to lower their taxable income. Right. And I think we're seeing that within sports. It's the perfect avenue between the crypto crowd and kind of the traditional sports fan, where these companies have clearly identified through the data that this is an important market to market through. And I think we'll just continue to see it more and more. And I think it's going to become as popular as a shoe deal, as anything else, right? Like what crypto company has sponsored you? Because these companies are going to continue to grow in market size. They're going to continue to grow in revenue. They're going to become bigger and bigger, and they're going to start to market through more athletes.
And one of the professional leagues just announced that they were banning. I saw this on your Twitter. I believe that they were not going to allow people to endorse crypto. Right? Yeah.
The NFL came out and said that teams can no longer. I guess they released a memo. The Athletic reported that they released a memo last week that said to NFL teams or last month that said that teams can no longer sign deals with crypto companies, with crypto platforms. And I really just think, right, so this has already happened to some degree. The New York Giants signed a deal with Grayscale Investments, which is not a crypto trading platform, but they offer crypto assets. And they're their official, I think, digital investment provider, so some title of that nature. But I think really what this is it's not that the NFL doesn't believe in the industry. Mm-hmm. I think like at this point, the numbers are what they are, and everyone can kind of see how much volume these companies are doing. And whether you believe in it as an asset class or not, you can at least admit that people are going to continue to trade it, right? And these companies are going to be around and they're offering other products. And now one of the crazy stats that I like to throw out is Robinhood now makes, I think it's almost double the money off crypto trading than they do off equities, right? So when you think about it in the context of like, they didn't even have a product when in 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin and all these other tokens ripped. So I think the NFL is basically saying, hey, look, we want to do our due diligence. And really, it's less about due diligence because we already probably understand that this is really going to be here, but we want to capitalize from a top-down approach, sign a multi-billion-dollar deal at the league level, and then let all you guys fight it out for the scratch. Right? But the NFL wants to be able to sign that top-level deal where they can say, hey, Coinbase, hey, BlockFi, hey, SoFi, hey, whoever you are, we're going to sign you as our kind of our exclusive provider, and then teams can kind of go out and sign their own deals.
It's really fascinating, man. It's going to be crazy to see how it takes off in the future because, like you said, this is just a couple years in the making, and it's already gotten this big. Some of the biggest names in sports have endorsed these companies and stuff, so it's going to be crazy.
Interesting time to be a professional athlete with this really landscape with so much going on, for sure.
Joe, last question before we let you go, brother. One business you think that will really start to take off is human performance optimization. Can you explain what that is and why you think it's going to be so big?
Yeah, I just think human performance optimization, to me, there's probably better definitions online, but to me, it really just means like using data and analytics to better your performance, your health, your nutrition, et cetera. Whether you're a professional athlete looking to perform at your best or just kind of a regular Joe, in my case, looking to feel good, be healthy, kind of go throughout your regular life and be happy. And that can mean anything from regulating your sleep to eating correctly, sleeping in hyperbaric chambers, using hyper-ice products to massage your legs and all this kind of stuff, right? But I just think what we're going to see is a lot of this has been democratized where it used to be for the best professional athletes in the world. And 50 years ago, they had Len Dawson or whoever it was smoking a cigarette during halftime of the Super Bowl. Right? And now LeBron James spends $1 million a year on his personal training and his nutrition and everything like that. So it has obviously shifted within the professional ranks. And then what I think a lot of these companies did was they took a top-down approach. They said, hey, look, if this product like a Whoop band is good enough for LeBron James, if it's good enough for Patrick Mahomes, if it's good enough for the best athletes in the world, if we can lower that access and give it to the average person also, then we'll have a massive market. And I think that's what we've seen. The Whoop band, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but a lot of these guys wear them. Yeah, Justin Thomas, all these guys wear them now. And it used to charge, I think they used to charge anywhere from like $1,000 to $5,000 per year per athlete. So it was a super premium product from that price perspective. But now they've lowered the cost all the way down to $30 a month, right? So they've been able to get the average consumer involved to a level where I think it's only going to get bigger. Tim Cook has said that he wants Apple's biggest legacy to be within health and technology wearables. So the Apple Watch is going to integrate a lot of this tech. I think we're going to see it over time, whether it's companies like HyperIce rolling out to wider markets and stuff like that. I think it's just going to get bigger as the average person notices and realizes they can use data to better help their lives and their performance.
Yeah, we had Mohammed Sanu on, and he gave us a little tour of his house and showed that he's using, what is it, the Hocket? Yeah,
he had a ozone sauna, an ozone infrared sauna, and the thing looked like a space machine. Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Instead of like Lynn Swann smoking squares and shit at halftime, banging heaters out in the locker room, you're gonna have guys jumping into hyperbaric oxygen chambers and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Things have changed a little bit.
The future is here. The future is here for sure. Yeah. Joe, we really want to thank you for coming on, man. You're so fun to talk to, and you had a lot of great information. Just to thank you for coming on the show, we're going to send you a bottle of whiskey, a little taste of Austin. It's from Still Austin, our favorite distillery here. So Chad's going to reach out and ask you for your address, and that's why he's asking for your address. He's not being a creeper. It's so that we can get you.
I'm being a creeper too. I just want to.
It's so that we can mail you this bottle of whiskey in the mail, man.
We just talked about.
I appreciate that, guys.
We just talked about human performance optimization. That's probably not on the list. So I'll be honest with
you. He's ready for it though.
You can give it. Check out his website, readhuddleup.com. READHUDDLEUP.com. Also check him out on Twitter at Joe POMPLIANO. awesome information, man. I go there. I read some of his stuff like almost every day. I'm on his Twitter.
I noticed you didn't even try to pronounce the last
I'm not going to try it. Pompliano.
He got it. There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
See, when I send emails out, I can't sound like a jackass because it's just text. You know what I'm saying? But if I did this, if I'd have sent you a voicemail, he'd be like, I'm not doing this interview. What a jackass. You ain't know how to say my damn name. What the hell's wrong with this guy? Joe P in the house. Yeah, but Joe.
Email worked well for you this time.
Yeah, dude. It's definitely on my side, man. You know what I'm saying? For sure. But yeah, give him a follow at Joe Pompliano, readhuddleup.com. Joe, it's awesome to have you on, brother. We'd love to have you on again sometime in the near future when things continue to change and get your perspective on everything else that's going on.
Yeah, guys, I'm happy to do it. I appreciate you guys having me on. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. We appreciate it, man. All right, that was a great interview with Joe Pompliano, readhuddleup.com. So much awesome information. The guy has a wealth of information about so many different facets of sports and the business and money side of sports.
Yeah, so fun to talk to, and he's really a niche writer. You know, there's not a lot of guys out there. I mean, there may be, but they're not as popular as he is, and they're not doing as good of a job as he is. And like we said, his content is so rich. Like, I know even I'm guilty of this. If you pull up my Twitter feed, you can be like, Tony, that was a pointless tweet. Like, why did you write that? That was stupid. Every single one of his tweets, I swear, are friggin' interesting and intriguing and make you want to read more. Fascinating stuff, for real.
Yeah, same with me, brother. If you pull up my Twitter, you can tell drunk, high, drunk, high. Just watched the documentary on the Illuminati, high, both high.
Grumpy after watching the Browns lose.
Yeah. High and just watched a Illuminati documentary. So it's not hard, man. His tweets are actually meaningful. So,
and that's at Chad Fisher Comedy if you want to see that train wreck.
Actually, at Comedy Chad.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's all good. But it was an awesome interview, man. You got to give him a follow. You got to check him out because he's so super popular. Like we said, almost 300,000 followers. People want this information. People love this information. And as you can tell from his Twitter, he's insanely popular. People love this stuff.
Yeah, if you want to see a video of that ping pong athlete with no arms, you can find that on his Twitter page as well.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome interview. Speaking of awesome, OddsShark is awesome, and they're your source for the latest odds from leading authorities, expert editorial content, and detailed matchup picks. If you're looking for statistics, it's a little remix here, motherfucker. Don't worry. Looking for statistics and trends for an upcoming game, OddsShark has that too, and it's free. In-depth expert analysis, stats, numbers, and trends to help you make the sharp game day picks. Whether you want to check out tonight's football odds, this week's hockey or basketball trends, or anything in between, head on over to OddsShark and start thinking like a shark today. You got to go there before you place a bet. They've got numbers from like 7 or 8 different sites. You can compare and contrast the two. Make sure you're getting the best number, man. Nothing's worse than hitting on a big bet and then realizing you could have got a better number had you went to OddsShark and shopped around and everything.
Yeah, and you'll see it this week. These week 2 lines are going to be fluctuating all week long. I mean, even this Thursday night game. That's why we didn't want to bring that up earlier, the Giants Washington game, because that number is going to be fluctuating throughout the week, and we don't know what day you're going to be listening to this. So oddshark.com. Keep an eye on those numbers moving.
Yeah, and that's ODDSSHARK.com. We also want to give a shout out to BetterHelp. That's HELP. Make sure you go to BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/DNP. And you're going to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Just drop our name. We're kind of popular like that, man. We're kind of a big deal. You know, just drop our name. You get 10% off, man.
Bam.
You know?
Save money.
Yeah, there you go. So we want to thank everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching. Please tell your friends about this show. Please give Joe a follow. Give us a follow on all social media platforms. We are at DNP-CD Sports.
At DNP-CD Show on Twitter now.
Yeah, hopefully we get that back at some point.
Long story.
We've been spanked for misusing Twitter. We just can't.
So our temporary account for now is at DNP-CD Show. Everything else we're at DNP-CD Sports.
And also, do check out my shirt, man. What's
look
up?
at that.
Yeah, look at this. Well, we're eventually going to have some of these for sale, I think. The only people that have them in America right now are me and my son Van. So we're the only cool kids in Austin, you know. But eventually, maybe you guys can buy some of this.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll see. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please tell your friends about the show. Please rate, subscribe, download our episodes. You can go to hotpiemedia.com to listen to all of our previous episodes and also check out some other awesome content from Hot Pie Media. They've got podcasts for pretty much anything you can think of. It's fantastic network. Couldn't be happier to be working with Hot Pie. For Tony, I am Chad. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all of our other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home online at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.